Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 93 of the Great Canadian Hockey Podcast. I'm James Parisi here with my co-host Aiden Sarah, and dude, I am ready to rock. This hockey season is, uh, dare I be cliche and say absolutely buzzing, dude. Absolutely buzzing. Aiden, I can't wait to hear how things are going for you, but I have to gush right now. I am loving hockey so much right now. I was at work thinking about going home and watching hockey. Are you feeling the same? Is the feeling mutual? Is the love flowing?
The love's always flowing. The start of the season is actually feeling a little bit more overwhelming this year than it did last year. But I don't remember which day it's going to be this time, but whatever day that they had every team play, I actually didn't like it last year. Like,
I don't like it either.
yeah. But you know what it did do for some reason? That day I just got dialed in of watching as much of it as I could, and then I rode the wave from there all the way. Um, so I've been working on either shifts or on projects or on a bunch of things, and I will be from earlier this week until the beginning of next week. And I think right after that, I'll be able to get settled in and really just enjoy the hell out of what's to come.
Hell yeah. Best game you've seen so far.
Best game, Calgary Edmonton. 3-0
Nice.
Oilers. 3-0 Oilers, and then the most predictable Stuart Skinner disaster eventually hands Calgary the opportunity to win it in a shootout.
For me and this Nathan McKinnon jersey that I'm currently rocking, it is a little bit biased. It was the LA Kings home opener against Colorado, seeing Kopitar's name get chanted as he came out, and just seeing the excitement. Marty Necas, the blazing speed, amazing performance from Scott Wedgwood, the fantastic looks from veterans and young guys alike. Quinton Byfield just being a presence on the ice. But dude, Brant Clark last year was insanely good offensively. Quick step, great first pass, high hockey IQ. This year, he's injected some honey badger into his cereal. The dude is straight up drinking tiger blood for breakfast, and I love it. I absolutely love it. The Kings traded away Jordan Spence this summer, and Drew Doughty is 1 year older. And that just means 1 year closer to Brant Clark needing to carry the back end of this team. And dude, he's just one step further. He looks incredible. Um, I I'm loving it, man. I'm loving it a lot. And those apps, 2-0. Scott Wedgwood stepping in for the injured Mackenzie Blackwood, looking insane. I'm not going to talk fantasy yet, but I'm going to be bringing that up later in our fantasy gambler roundup.
What are we gonna dive in head first with? Because I think we have to do contracts because holy, like,
That's all of the news in the hockey world. It'd be
yeah,
stupid if we
yeah.
didn't go contracts. So,
Like,
so
you know,
just to let you guys,
I think
yeah,
this episode is just gonna end up being contracts and then talking about the teams in the Atlantic Division. I think that's
yeah,
what we
yeah.
do
We have to
here.
finish our division previews. Like
Yeah,
we're kind of like we're posers and we're kind of rats if we don't. Like I'm not on board with not doing the Atlantic, even though I don't want to.
oh no, we got to. Even if it's like 3 days late, we can't just leave a
Yeah,
gap in
yeah.
the divisions.
I saw Empty Netters did theirs 2 days ago, so they did theirs on the first day of the season. So I'm fine with where we get it. I'm sure our listeners are fine with it. Our listeners are they're basically just like pity listening us anyway.
That's fair.
So I mean it's not like they really care that they're getting their news 2 days late.
And I feel like it's reached a point with our podcast where you're coming for some news, but if you're looking to stay up to date with news, it's probably not the most prudent device to do so. Um, but James, it's like what we have to have almost 10, right? Just off the top of my head. of these contracts that have been signed in the last week, right after the Kaprizov one, including one that I absolutely am going to say that I in no world saw happening. I in no world saw happening with this team, with this player, and for this little amount of money. We're gonna get there, and I think James knows which one I'm talking about. But we can start wherever you want to start with this slew of American dollars that have been flowing into the pockets of these players um, right before the season starts.
Well, Aiden, so just to give our listeners a little bit of a taste of what I'm doing here, none of these contracts are the ones that are valued at under $1 million. So I've left out the Connor Shearys, I've left out all of the other Connor Shearys and all of the other players whose names I'm not remembering right now. They are still important, but they're not what we're talking about here, right? Here we're talking about big dogs or at least some below average sized dogs. But let's start with the biggest one of those dogs in the NHL, Connor McDavid, signing what I think is the most surprising to me deal right now. Everyone else is like, oh, well, this kind of makes sense. This is what everyone was talking about. Blah 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 blah. Shut up. I thought he was going to free agency and then signing another 1 year deal with the Oilers to prove it. That was my prediction. Instead, we get 2 years re-upping at his exact AAV he's carrying right now. That's $12.5 million. And Aiden, what that does is, you know, kind of devalue all the other high priced contracts that have been signed recently. Because I don't care that he's being a team player. The cap is going up, the salaries are going up. I love what he did as a team guy, but this is straight up a disservice to so many other guys that are trying to sign contracts right now. Because now these teams that are negotiating contracts with their players are going to go, well, McDavid took 12.5. How do you think you're worth 11? They are worth 11. It's today's NHL. McDavid's contract's an anomaly. Aiden proved me wrong.
Well, no, I don't think you're wrong in the point you landed on. I think you're wrong in the point of like it's doing a disservice and it's going to make an impact. I think Kirill Kaprizov and Connor McDavid's contracts are going to be complete outliers to the situation. And if you take those two contracts out, like you obviously, Jackson Lacombe might have been a little bit fresh to give him 8 by 9, but if you watch him play a little, probably not, right? Like this is a very good player. Um, and you do get those big numbers like we saw Jackson Blake after less than 80 career NHL games just get 8 years. But like Eichel, for instance, signs 8 by 13.5. That's a contract that if a McDavid effect was going to have, James, and if you were going to see an AAV get brought down, you would have seen it in somebody like Eichel. You would have seen somebody like Eichel take a little bit less. And we can talk a little bit more about Eichel right now because I thought that was a great contract for both Vegas and the player. It's a perfect fit. But staying on McDavid, no, I don't think it's going to change anything because it's so obviously an anomaly. It's so obviously an anomaly, just like the Kaprizov one being as high as it was. Just unique player to that market, unique situation. What I will say, Connor McDavid takes a 2 year contract, $12.5 million a season. Um, I respect this exponentially. I couldn't respect this anymore from Connor McDavid. This is what being a captain is to me, right? Like if you're being named captain of an NHL franchise, um, there's accountability and there's a responsibility on your back. It's the same reason that after a horrible game in the playoffs, it's the player with the C that has to go face the music. Your team isn't succeeding. Um, if you're the captain of a team that isn't succeeding, if you're supposed to be the leader of a team that isn't succeeding, I think, this is what you do if you're going to be able to go out there and say, all I care about is winning a Stanley Cup. Um, we're going to talk about some Atlantic Division teams. But all I'm going to say is two major Canadian markets had two first overall picks in back-to-back years in 2015 and 2016. And one of those two players, as the captain of an organization, has just taken a contract that is probably $7 million under what his market value would have been in the free agency. The other guy plays for the Toronto Maple Leafs and is the captain. I don't think that guy would take a cent less for any reason whatsoever. I don't think he would have taken anything close to this, and I don't think he's going to make a cent under $17 million on his next contract, because just in the same way,
Well, his
the
next
teams.
contract would probably be $20 million based on when it would be signed.
Yeah, yeah, but he's gonna have he's gonna have the highest percentage of of any team salary cap because he needs to, because it's about him in Toronto. It's not about
Okay,
McDavid in Edmonton.
wait. Hold on. But when McKinnon signed his contract, he was the highest paid player by AAV in the NHL, and he's a cup winner, and he's everything you describe you like about these guys.
Yeah, he didn't have to take the cut to win the cup. He earned it. They won the Stanley Cup before he signed that contract. He earned it. They got the ring. He didn't have to.
But he wants to
I'm
win
I'm
just as
I'm
much as
rejecting
anyone
that. I'm
else.
rejecting that. He didn't stop and say this is what I have to do to get us over the line. We won the Stanley Cup. Now I'm getting my reward for it. Not I'm the first overall pick and me and my mustache have to be the headline of the NHL, so I need to get paid more than
But
everybody
Matthews
else.
scored 69 goals.
Not in the contract year.
Matthews scored 69 goals before this last contract was signed, did he not?
No, no, no,
Huh.
no.
Regardless, he had one of the best goals per games in NHL history.
Hey, I'm not saying he didn't deserve the contract. I'm saying there's a level of devotion to a market, there's a level of devotion to a team, and there's a quality in what a captain is that one player has and the other doesn't in this situation. That's what I'm saying. So that's part of me commending what McDavid has done in saying that if if you've got a team that's supposed to be a good contender and your captain is on the other side of this spectrum, that would rub me the wrong way.
That's a tangent. That was a tangent. We haven't had one of those in a while.
That was the first thing I thought of when I saw this contract, dude. I'm not kidding. It was like, well, so
Well,
maybe let's take the examples of some guys with class who have historically uh been been loyal Canadians who are drafted high by their teams.
uh, I'm gonna go to the first thought that a lot of Oilers fans probably had, and that's that McDavid took a big discount, and we can probably save a good chunk of money right now. Well, I don't think they ended up saving much money for the next few years because they turned around and signed Jake Wallman to a 7x7, and then extended Matthias Ekholm at 4 million per season. They've also since signed Jack Roslovic to a 1 year deal at $1.5 million just for the season, but with the McDavid savings we're talking about in years punted forward. Aiden, I I don't feel that Jake Wallman is worth $7 million per season. I also understand that the cap has gone up, and as a result, a $5 million defenseman now is probably a $7 million defenseman. So, like, it's not the worst thing in the world. I do wonder if that money could have been spent elsewhere, but like, I don't doubt that they know what they're doing with that. It does concern me how much money is spent on the left side of their blue line, but
I wonder about how long Darnell Nurse has there. He's 30 years old. He's got a contract still 4 more years. And I think what he does, the role that Darnell Nurse has grown into with this team, I think is a role that Jake Wallman's going to fill. I actually don't think Nurse is here long term. I think they're going to end up moving Nurse and it'll be Wallman. Um, it'll be Wallman there if they can't get it done with Darnell Nurse on the roster.
right.
Like if there's cap that needs to be cut, I think it's coming from Nurse. If they can keep Nurse, Ekholm, and Wallman for the next 3 seasons after this one, because it's this plus three that Ekholm's under contract. Um, if they can make it work with all three of those defensemen, that's one thing. But I would not be surprised if the long-term vision here is for Ekholm and Wallman to be 1 and 2, because Darnell Nurse signed this contract when it looked like he was going to be like the number one power play puck moving guy. It was before Bouchard had really broken out. So he gets paid as a number one guy. He's $9.25 million. They've got him in a second pair shutdown role. Like he's the grit on that back end. And you know what? He does it pretty well. He can be reckless. He can be a little bit irresponsible at times, but for the most part, Darnell Nurse has grown into a pretty defensively responsible guy. However, that being said, his game isn't one that he does everything good enough to be worth that kind of money. So, in the way that we saw Chicago offload Seth Jones to a team that just kind of needed the Seth Jones archetype, I think there's going to be a team that needs Darnell Nurse in the next couple of years that's going to take the contract off Edmonton's hands. Because I completely understand what you're saying. But that's my thinking. As far as money better spent elsewhere, if you take the however many top 5, 6 contracts, the amount of production they get, Edmonton at this point, I don't really see much of an excuse because the big dogs are not taking up as big a percentage of the salary cap as we've seen other teams still have success with their top players doing so. Like this is by far and bar none the best opportunity that this team will have to win the Stanley Cup is in now the next 3 seasons. Like Connor McDavid has done them just an absolute service here, the kind of service that a captain does. And um, I totally think saying, okay, you're going to get me at an absolute discount for the next 2 seasons after this one. We're winning a Stanley Cup in the next 3 years. We're doing this now. I completely respect that. The Sedins, James, when they were in Vancouver, Henrik and Daniel Sedin, in their prime, they were winning Art Ross and Hart trophies, and I know the cap was significantly less, but they were still making just over $6 million a season. Ovechkin was at 9.5, and that was the highest in the NHL. Henrik and Daniel went 100 points, Hart Trophy, Art Ross, back-to-back seasons. Henrik 1 year, Daniel the other. And they were just making 6.1 when the highest guy was 9.5, right? So
That was a pretty common number around then too for a top guy. Like
yeah,
Eric Stahl, like Joe Thornton, Patrick Marleau, they were all around the same number.
yeah, all in the 6 to 7.5. Because
Yeah.
then Crosby at 8.7 was next behind Ovechkin.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a tangent too, but what I'm saying is what the Oilers have done here. Um, Ekholm at 3 point, like 3 by 4, James. That's fantastic for Matthias Ekholm. Open market, somebody would have thrown $6 million at him. Would have been a mistake at his age, but they would have done it.
I think this year and probably a good chunk of next season you'll get a good performance from him, but like it's just that's a very battle-hardened guy with a bit of an injury history, and I'm not often comfortable handing that kind of term extended to a guy that age coming off an injury that prevented them from being of use to them for much of the playoffs. That one's tough for me. But moving on to one deal I really didn't think was going to get done. Kyle Connor extends for 8 years at 12 million per with the Winnipeg Jets. I thought that dude was going to be the headline of this summer's NHL free agent class, but no, not happening. He saw what Mark Scheifele and Connor Hellebuck did, and he said, "I want to be a part of this core for a long time." The guy loves hunting, the guy loves fishing, the guy loves the outdoors, and clearly he loves the people of Winnipeg.
You want to talk respect? Like Kyle Connor just signed 8 years at a complete like $12 million is gonna look like a steal in 3 years, dude. I know that sounds crazy. Like that's a crazy sentence to come out of my mouth right now. But the trend of the market is you're get like Kyle Connor is a superstar. He's one of the best wingers in the NHL. He is not too far off the caliber of Kirill Kaprizov. He's not. Like Kirill might be a tier above him, but he's not $5 million above him. And I thought Kyle Connor would have gone to the open market. And again, the Kaprizov contract I think is more than anybody's going to get still for a bit here. But I thought Connor was going to go and get upwards of $15 million in the open market. But not only does he stay in Winnipeg for 8 years, he stays in Winnipeg for 8 years, and what I think is a discount. This guy totally could have got more money, and he stays in a market that historically has struggled to attract and attain talent. So this is a massive win for the Winnipeg Jets. On the last episode, we were kind of talking about, well, if he's going to walk, all of a sudden there's this gaping hole of this team that we don't know how they're going to fill. And we were talking about a Kyle Connor departure potentially being the first shot to this Winnipeg group at still being a playoff group and the start of them start of a decline from the Jets. We were talking about that on the last episode, and Connor comes out and he signs an 8 by 12. Like that is unbelievable for the Winnipeg Jets. That's great from Connor. And I know Adam Lowry's the captain. Mark Scheifele's probably next, but not only has he cemented himself as part of that team, part of that city, but that's an example for everybody else to follow. That's a leader right there. And you know what? It's probably going to drag Cole Perfetti's number down a little bit too.
I I have a hot take on this guy, and I every year I lose faith in Kyle Connor more and more. I truly don't think he will ever score 50 goals or 100 points. I don't think it's happening. I think I've spent the last 5 years saying it's happening this year, it's happening next year, and I'm over it. I'm
Okay,
done.
so okay, can you give me how many points he had last year?
80 something?
97.
Okay. How many
So
goals? Yeah.
he had 41. His career
Okay.
high is 47.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't even think you're signing this contract thinking multiple 50, 50, 100 seasons out of Connor. Like last year is a perfect blueprint for what you need Kyle Connor to be.
Totally.
A
100%.
40 to
100%.
45, 90 to 100 guy. Like I don't think you got any complaints there, especially with the fact you got Mark Scheifele there with him, and Scheifele's the guy that always ends up in that 35 to 40, 75 to 85 point range.
100%. I'm more so just thinking when we've talked about this guy on this podcast in the past, I've said he's going to score 50 goals or he's going to get 100 points or how does he not have this number or watch out for him to win the Rocket Richard. And I'm just over it.
Yeah.
I'm done with that. I think other guys are exciting me more in that sense.
You
But
need anything else about Jack Eichel?
um I think he's technically going to be the richest man in the NHL because of the tax situation and his salary. And let alone sponsorships, everything else that's presented to him, being a player of his caliber and being in Vegas. And you know what? Like he has done literally everything you need to do to earn this kind of cash, and he gets better and better every year. Every year
Oh,
that you watch Jack Eichel, he improves more and more.
I think that's it. And I think this is the year for one of these American players to take the mantle as the guy, right? Like in Canada was the guy. Patrick Kane for American hockey was the guy. He was the face of it. Right now it's McDavid for Canada, and that was completely, like rubber stamped in complete certainty after that Four Nations tournament. Jack Eichel, you just said it. He's got better every single year of hockey we've seen him play. He's now 28 years old. He's about to turn 29. James, that tells me that this should be the peak. This should be his peak. So you have him now with a brand new contract, having reached the peak of his talent. He had 94 points in 77 games this year. One-time Stanley Cup champion, 4 points in his first game of the season. James Eichel, and like especially with how good Vegas still look, I think this could be a Jack Eichel year where we see him dominate in the Olympics, we see him dominate in the regular season, we see him dominate in the playoffs, we see him taking home his first NHL hardware. His only individual award in hockey to date is a Hobie Baker Award. He's never won anything else, and I think this is the year that we see. If Vegas wins the cup, it could totally be Eichel with the Conn Smythe. And if the United States are going to win in the Olympics, it's completely going to be on Eichel's back. I think he's their guy. I think he's the guy in. It might even be the guy in the Western Conference in terms of centers behind McDavid right now. Like he gets lost in Buffalo, and his quality got lost in Vegas too because it was a small market, right? Like I know calling Vegas a small market's weird, but how many people just watch Vegas games on the regular? Yeah, this is so worth it, and Vegas is getting a franchise altering superstar for till he's 37 years old.
Minnesota Wild spending more cash, extending their goaltender Philip Gustafsson 5 years at 6.8 million per shutout in his first game of the season, looking fantastic. I don't have much else to say other than this is a upper caliber NHL starting goalie that signed for what those guys get paid.
Mhm. Yeah, 6.8, and this will expire when he's 33. He's going to just have turned 33 years old, which is a really good spot for Minnesota because they've got Jesper Wallstedt, who will be just kind of the age that Gustafsson was when he stepped into a starting role, right? You know how the goalie development curve comes a little bit later.
Yeah, they don't
Um,
get good till they're 25.
yeah, so this contract kind of like dog walks Gustafsson into being a veteran and Wallstedt into being the starter. So it makes sense in a lot of different capacities. And if Wallstedt's early, I think you can move like a 31-year-old Philip Gustafsson with a year or two left at $6.8 million dollars. Yeah, you're gonna have some teams chomping at that. So no matter what, this is a win for the Wild.
Matt Grzelcyk signing a 1 year, $1 million deal with the Chicago Blackhawks, and this one is just shocking to me that he didn't manage to get the contract before this. This guy had almost 40 points with the Pittsburgh Penguins last year, and that was a
He had 40
struggling team.
points.
Yeah, 40 points on a struggling team, and he wasn't even one of the top couple point producing defensemen. Isn't
He's a
that
great
insane to you?
passer.
Yeah.
He's a great passer. It's Ty Smith syndrome, I
But
think.
they loved him in Boston. He had battle there.
Oh, I know, and I think it just kind of tailed off with him. I think, yeah, what's been happening with defensemen in Boston? Hey, there's been a few. Mason Lohrei comes to mind too, where they look like, oh, this is an established top four defenseman. Brandon Carlo is another example where
Carlos still
there's
looks good in Toronto, though.
yeah, he still does, but they produce these defensemen that have these spurts of looking like
Hmm.
stud top four guys.
Mike Riley
Um,
looked really good for them as
yeah,
well. Yeah.
and then eventually it just tails off a little bit. When I say that the Ty Smith syndrome, it's just being a sub 6 foot defenseman that gets out muscled in the dirty areas down low in their own zone. That's it. Like and uh, the difference between being 5'10" and being 6'1" is what has
Huge.
sunk Matt
Huge.
Grzelcyk here. Really, like if Matt Grzelcyk's 6'1", he's a $4 million defenseman who's a day one free agency pickup.
You also have to wonder if like him or Roslovic, because we know this is the case with Roslovic, he was looking for a deal with term, and that just wasn't out there. It wasn't out there at all. You got to wonder if Grizzly experienced the same thing. Another guy who didn't get any term, and a guy who you have to wonder how this deal wasn't done early in the summer. RFA near holdout, Luke Evangelista, 2 years, 3 million per re-ups with the Nashville Predators. Um, every other podcast has said this. I listened to 32 Thoughts. I listened to Chicklets. I listened to Empty Netters. I listened to Missing Curfew. All of them have said the exact same thing, and I'm going to echo. I'm going to be an owl here. Could we not have hammered out this deal? How can you seriously tell me that Barry Trotz and Luke Evangelista's agent did not figure this out in July?
The only thing I can think of is that one side, and based on what the contract ended up being and the nature of the player, I'm gonna guess it was the Evangelista side was maybe looking at something like the Jackson Blake contract, where you go 6, 7 years at between $4 and $5 million.
Hmm.
Um, the longer term, like because realistically, like if I'm Luke Evangelista and if you're his agent, you're looking at him and his career and thinking, okay, he's 23 years old. He's had an upward trajectory of the last however many seasons since he's been drafted. He keeps getting better and better. In the next few years, we want him to be this type of player in this spot on a team, making this much money. Um, $3 million is under that, right? $4 million is under that. But that's where you start to get the gamble is I bet you that this could have been done earlier if it was always going to be the 2.3, but it would have been one side wanting the term with that Jackson Blake kind of number where he was $5.1 million, and the other side would have been looking for something closer to this where it's short term prove it. Um, So in that sense, it's somehow understandable to be like, okay, if they were arguing from these completely different sides of the, if they were basically arguing in two different contract negotiations the whole time, right? And you can see how we could feasibly have arrived there. Um,
Okay, then how did they not get it done in August?
oh, I think maybe everybody just threw up their hands and said, all right, this is getting nowhere. We'll figure this out later. Go train.
Moving on, Florida Panthers get another steal of a deal and at term with the player making so much money because of the tax situation. Nico Mikkola, a steady Eddie of a defenseman. He's got the physical impact. He has a great first pass. He has amazing gap control. This is exactly what you want from a number four defenseman. 8 years, 5 million per. Aiden, is this not the deal that Oilers fans would have wanted Jake Wallman to sign?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Jake Wallman just would have commanded more on the open market because he can run a power play. It's the puck moving ability of Wallman that Mikkola doesn't have. He's not a rush defenseman at all. Sorry, he is a rush
But
defender.
Bouchard runs the power play.
He's a great rush defender. He is not a join the rush defenseman, Mikkola, to clarify.
Mm,
Um,
God.
it is a good number. It's the version of Eric Chernak that the Panthers got, right? You saw Chernak win back-to-back cups in
Mhm.
Tampa, being this top four, you call it steady Eddie,
A
stable.
Nicholas Hjalmarsson.
Yeah, the Hjalmarsson Aduya duo on the back end for Chicago, those guys. But Mikkola, the only thing with Mikkola is I think by the time you get into 35, 36, 37, this contract's going to be like, oh, we're paying him a lot of money. But
And
$5
who
million,
cares at
dollars,
that point? You'll have
well,
5 cups by then.
and $5 million might still not be that bad
Yeah.
based on the way we're going here.
5 will be the new 3. Straight up, man. I'm not even joking. That's an honest thought. 5 million will be a $3 million contract.
Two young left shot defensemen signed for two identical AAVs. Where are we starting?
Let's start with the overpaid one.
So Hughes?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
like the way you thought
okay.
that was. Yeah. Yeah, this guy who has bottomless potential and his brothers are full-blown NHL superstars, but he has, you know what, stumbled to me. This is not the development curve that anyone suspected from Luke Hughes. And even if they did, they are stupid because you would have thought he would be better by now. You would have thought he would at least have taken over in any way, shape, or form, especially given that first season that he had with the flashes he showed. At this rate, going into the 25-26 season, this should already be a defenseman that's put up 65 plus points.
You're right.
Why why am I to believe that this season is going to be any different? Because they might trade Dougie later on? No, they're trying to win a cup. That's not going to happen. That's stupid. No. Luke Hughes is signed for potential, just like his brother was, just
Yeah,
like his other brother was.
just like Jack was for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just don't understand. Well, I do understand why he was signed, but I just don't understand why he's not good yet.
Okay, yeah, I understand that. Dougie Hamilton's only played 84 games in the last two seasons. Um, he's 32 and just coming back from an injury. 6'6", 230-pound defenseman. Um, the Luke Hughes step forward, I think, is going to come now, and I think that's because what we're going to start seeing because of
I think that
Hamilton,
you think that's because he's on your fantasy team and it's what you're praying for?
little bit.
A little bit.
But
Just a touch.
there's an aspect of the Siegenthaler Hamilton pair that is going to end up being the second pair, I think, now. I think Hughes and Pesci are the top pair now. And I think giving Hamilton number one minutes, putting him in number one situations where you're asking him to do everything, anything and everything, the way that he's been asked to do everything and anything and everything for this team since he signed, all you're going to do is kind of force him into that Alex Petrangelo spot even faster, where all of a sudden the injuries are chronic enough that you need to take a big chunk of time off, and not just the first 20 games of a season. And so I think at Hamilton's age, I know he's making $9 million. I know he's under contract till 2028. I think you're going to see Siegenthaler and him end up being that second pairing, kind of the way that Darnell Nurse has stepped away from being the number one in Edmonton and now feels like a key crucial role farther down in the lineup. And so I think what they're doing here is they're paying their number one defenseman $9 million. They're paying the guy that's going to play alongside Brett Pesce, who they also gave a long contract to, the amount of money that they want their top pair to be making. Yes, it's a contract for potential. Why isn't he good yet? I always use the excuse of like the COVID development years for these like 2021 picks, but it's 2025, so I think it's like okay,
If
the time
Marco
is now.
Rossi can be good by now, then Luke Hughes should be able to be good by now.
Marco Rossi.
There is no excuse. There's zero excuse. I don't want to. I can't take that one. I know you're just floating ideas there, but like I can't take that one. Okay, let's move on to the actual top pair defenseman. Jackson Lacombe, 8 years, 9 million per, the highest paid Anaheim Duck in a full contract ever.
Ever. Wow.
Yeah, ever. I believe Getzlaff was making 8.5 or around there on a deal for around the same term. I'm sure I could look that up. I'm not going to. I'm confident in that being semi-right. But dude, Lacombe, I feel like everyone around the hockey world has very, very gradually, but at the same pace, turned their head around to be like, yeah, that's a top pair defenseman. And we were all last season like, oh yeah, he's pretty good. And then by the end of the season, we were like, yeah, he's really good. And then in the off season, we're like, watch out for him. And then everybody's like, yeah, he should probably be on the Olympic team. And then now everyone's like, well, yeah, he deserved it. He's like one of the best defensemen in the conference. It's gradually going. I feel like the next thing I'm going to hear is that he's a Norris Trophy dark horse.
I say this on the reverse a lot. Guys play the way guys play and their contract status are significantly more linked than anybody ever really acknowledges. When you are playing for a contract, there's a difference in your play. And right after you get a bag, there's a
Oh,
difference in
you
your
you
play.
usually suck.
So I wonder, I'm so curious to see how he plays this season. Let's see this season of Jackson Lacombe because we saw a guy in 2023-24 that was clearly playing for Greg Cronin's Anaheim Ducks, which was a version of the Anaheim Ducks that literally nobody wanted to play for or accelerated in playing for or would have returned to play hockey for again the next year. So his two NHL seasons have been a dumpster fire season for the whole team and every single player on it, and then this incredible season of his. So last year he looked worth this in every time I watched him. Um, Now that he's got this, let's see what he does.
On that note, on the getting a bag and being terrible note, incoming Luke Hughes 20-point season. Hell
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you were gonna start talking about Gavin McKenna. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's talk about him.
yeah, I was gonna
Let's
say
take
because
things to college hockey's next big thing
well,
and the presumed first overall pick in the 2026 NHL entry draft. Gavin McKenna. He's played his first few games for Penn State and electrifying as expected. But what do you want to say? I feel like you have a lot. I'd like you to say 75%
oh
of the things that have come to your mind.
brother, I threw to McKenna in this situation because I know you have some complaining to do about a decision he made.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's why I
I
threw
can
to
go there
McKenna in
first.
that context. Well, I don't have a lot. He
I want
played
you to
an
talk about the
amazing game.
hockey because
Oh,
what I'm going to talk about has nothing to do with the on ice
yeah.
problem.
Okay, no. In the hockey, he had a wonderful first couple games. He a goal and two assists so far. Wonderful finish on the power play. It's a very good Penn State team, and he's clearly like just finding his spot in there, as is everybody else, right? This is a league where he's playing with guys as old as 23, 24, 25, right? He's 17. So there's the like, okay, yes, he has 3 points in his first two games. He looks amazing. No, he's not going to score at the same rate that he did in Medicine Hat. Let's not expect that. Penn State's a very good team, and this will be um, Oh, we had quite the World Juniors out of Connor Bedard in 2023, but this I'm just as ready with anticipation to watch what McKenna does in this tournament coming up here. Okay, now
Macklin
complain about him.
Celebrini. Macklin Celebrini had 64 points in 38 games for Boston University in his draft eligible college season. Will Gavin McKenna have more or less?
Less,
Is Gavin McKenna a worse or better player?
better.
I like how both of those aren't the same answer and they don't have to be.
No,
Now I think,
BU, listen, Celebrini was the guy at BU. McKenna's going to be the guy here, but there's so many other high level players. There was nothing like Macklin Celebrini at Boston University. Like it was literally just Cole Iserman sitting there and firing one timers, and then it was the Celebrini show after that. That was it. McKenna's got some other players that are going to take his ice time here.
okay, now why I hate Gavin McKenna and will never want to watch him play ever again. So there's a really annoying thing in the sports trading cards and memorabilia and collecting world that players sometimes do. And for some reason, it's always the top prospect who does it, and they end up going back on it. In the past, Jack Eichel has and Nolan Patrick and Nico Hischier signed their exclusive autograph and memorabilia rights to Leaf instead of Upper Deck. Upper Deck is where all of the NHL's products go through. Capo Caco also put his through Panini, which was just ruthless and weird to do. It's just chasing a bit of extra money instead of doing exactly what everyone else is doing for slightly less money. It's not a massive difference from what I've seen online. I haven't heard the specifics of Gavin McKenna's contract with Topps, but I can't imagine it's that different. So what this does is it makes it so all of the people collecting cards and opening boxes of cards, they can't get the autographed Gavin McKenna card. So when a rookie set or a hockey card set called SP Authentic comes out, or the Cup comes out with some of the most iconic autographed and memorabilia laden rookie cards, it's going to be the Gavin McKenna year. His rookie card should be the most valuable and most sought after and chased card in it. Well, it won't be because it's just going to have a serial number. It won't have an autograph. It won't have a chunk of memorabilia. But Keaton Verhoff, his will. All of these other guys, theirs will. But because McKenna wanted to be different and wanted to be special, some kid opening a box is going to see the Gavin McKenna card and go, oh my God, Dad, it's the one. And then the dad's going to go, oh my God. And then they're going to peel back and see that card and go, oh, why isn't it autographed like the other ones? And it's going to ruin that kid's day. Take
James
that,
is that
Gavin
kid.
McKenna. You have ruined a child in 2027's day.
That's James. James is that child.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe it is. Maybe it is, but I won't open the product now. I won't open the box now. Why would it if the top rookie's rookie card won't be signed? Screw that. And I know this is such a stupid, minuscule problem that 999% of people do not care about whatsoever. But for the people that do care, and I go to card shows all the time. I have friends who collect stuff. Aiden, you have a couple cool autograph cards in your collection. Like it's just it's not something that was necessary. Like I will say though, Heischer, Patrick, and Eichel all ended up going back on it. And their autograph cards ended up being thrown in a set 2 to 3 years down the line, which made no sense whatsoever, but it was an update autograph rookie. And maybe Gavin McKenna will come to his senses and do the same. I digress. I hope he has a really bad season.
Okay. Speaking of bad seasons, we're gonna start alphabetically at the top of the Atlantic. Because I think my final three teams all come from the top three spots on this list. So, James, would you like to kick off the Boston Bruins and what we think of the Boston Bruins, or specifically, what are your thoughts on this Boston team?
Well, Aiden, I'm really excited to be finishing these division previews because I was having a great time with the first couple, and then the third one was awesome, but the fourth one, it's like I just want to get this over with. So let's finish what we started. Let's get these division previews over with. Here's the Atlantic. Starting things off, as Aiden said, with the Boston Bruins. This is a team that is probably top three in transactions. So that's trades, free agent signings, everything alike in the past 12 months or so. Like they've made a lot of moves, and I really like the direction that they've taken. They've started to have a little bit more emphasis on youth, at least from an organizational standpoint. Maybe not an on ice product because they never play their rookies. Fabian Lysel's career is going to turn to nothing without ever being given a chance. And I mean, he might have never been anything, but because it's the Bruins, you'll never know. They did this with Alexander Kovalchev. They've recently done this with Georgi Merkulov, who had a fantastic AHL career, but it was just never really given a shot to play more than a pro game. They're all over this, and watch Fraser Minton end up in the AHL for the entire season as well. This is just what they do. Um, I I like the direction that they have taken accumulating assets. I love a lot of the pieces they have. Jeremy Swayman, elite NHL goaltender. Charlie McAvoy, elite NHL defenseman. David Pastrnak, one of the best players in the NHL, bar none. And surrounding pieces have been fantastic. Elias Lindholm looks primed for a bounce back, looking right hot to start the season. Morgan Geekie building upon a season last year already with I believe, a goal and an assist in the season opener, looking great, putting shots on net. And for me, that's not even the exciting part. The exciting part is, can we turn around a Casey Middlestat and flip him for more? What can we get out of a Murat Kuznetsov that we acquired for basically nothing? Mason Lowry, what's the ceiling there? Like it's really fun to find out what they can do with a Fraser Minton that they got for sending away a Brandon Carlo who wanted out anyway. That's fun. That's a lot.
Overtime winner today.
Fraser Minton?
Yeah.
Beauty. Love to see it. And that's a guy who has a lot of heart, a guy who wants to win and get better. We've seen it from pretty much every step of the guy's career. So, Aiden, none of that changes the fact that out of the 8 teams in this division, this is the one that's going to finish seventh. But after drafting James Haggins last year, they want to draft early. They want to finish eighth. And the only thing that's going to stop them from that is those elite players that I mentioned.
This screams a team that is like one little bout of adversity away from crumbling. Like this is a team that, yeah, they could get some wins, they could be in the hunt, but it might just be Zaka or Geeky. Obviously, if it's Pasternak or McAvoy again, that's a season down the drain. But I'm not confident in this team's resilience and their durability, just because between guys that are inconsistent, um, haven't proven a large sample size, and have dealt with injuries of late. There's just too much here that I'm scared of to really have very much confidence at all. And you're right that you take a handful of guys: Morgan Geekie, Pavel Zacha, Elias Lindholm, Casey Middlestat, Victor Arvidsson, Tanner Jeannot, Fraser Minton, Murat Husnudinov, and all those forwards, Mason Lohrei on the back end, Nikita Zadorov on the back end, all of those players at their very best, perfect in the roles they're in. Like Geeky at
Hampus
his best.
Lindholm.
Hampus Lindholm, I'm not expecting Hampus Lindholm's always as good as he's going to be, which is like a good number three. I'm not expecting any more or any less
Hampus
than
Lindholm was voted the best shutdown defender as voted by NHL players like 5 years ago. And his first season in Boston, he was a legit bar none top pair D.
that was the McAvoy year, though. That was the McAvoy injury. So he was given number one from the outset. Um, if all of these players play as good as they possibly can, yeah, we're looking at a Boston Bruins team that can climb out of the basement. I'm not confident. I think David Pastrnak's going to get 100 points, um, but his team will get what, 70? Like maybe, yeah, 70.
Where do you have them finishing?
I think you and I have the same bottom two, and we're just gonna flip it around. I think Buffalo. No, you know what? Luukkonen just got hurt. I like that Buffalo defense this year with
We're not talking
Kessering.
Buffalo yet. This is
Um,
Boston.
Yeah, I think they're gonna finish seventh.
Okay.
Buffalo on paper fully healthy, I like, but there's so many injuries, and then again, you go back to like, okay, well, all it needs is for X, Y, and Z to not click, and then they're in trouble. So let's go to the team we both have in last, then the Buffalo Sabres. And it's a Buffalo team that are on version 3 or 4 of this like what group of young players are we going to try and compete with? And I guess power to you for trying again and more. Um,
Does this count as trying?
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. Josh Norris is a good player. Yuri
He's
Kulik
already
is,
injured day to day upper
yeah,
body injury as of today. I have
yeah.
him in fantasy. I am freaking out.
Like it's so hard, James, because you look at a line like Alex Tuck, Tage Thompson, Josh Norris. That's a bunch of good top six forwards. But the youth on this team has just not been given the wings and the opportunity that they've needed to have. Yuri Kulik right now is lining up as the second line center. Like to me, they need one of these guys to hit. If it's Kulik, if it's Jack Quinn coming out of a bottom six role to light the lamp, if it's like a Zach Benson taking a big step forward, they need one of these guys on the forward core to just take a spot and run with it. You know Tage Thompson's going to be an effective player. You know Alex Tuck is going to give you what Alex Tuck gives you night in, night out. They need something else in this forward core to for it to have an impact. Byram, Dahlin, Samuelson, Timmins, Power, and Kesselring is a good enough defense core that,
That shouldn't even just be good enough. That should be elite. Why is
yeah,
that not elite?
I know. So I think it's one or two of these young forwards just taking the lamp and running with it. Consta Helenius is still 19 years old, and I think it's his top six center spot to lose based on how good he looks already. So as Buffalo waits for Helenius to come in, I think it's the opportunity for McLeod and Kulik and Norris and Doan to say, I'm a top six forward here. But the goaltending being Alex Lyon and Alexander Georgiev is an absolute disaster. I don't know what the Lukanen timeline is, but regardless, this is a big no-no from me. Eighth
Eighth
place.
place for both of us.
Yeah.
Is this an Owen Power breakout year?
No,
What does an Owen Power breakout year look like?
I don't know in Buffalo, honestly. I have no idea because if Buffalo is good enough for us to look at Owen Power and say this guy's breaking out, Rasmus Dahlin, like there's no version of an Owen Power breakout in Buffalo that doesn't happen because of how much better and Rasmus Dahlin is than everybody else on the ice that he plays with. Rasmus Dahlin is the closest thing in the NHL to Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar. By quite some margin, I think in terms of pure talent. It's just he gets buried on this Buffalo team constantly. Like I truly do think Dahlin, just from a pure talent standpoint, should be in the same tier as Makar and Hughes. So I love Power. I love the player. It's just hard to picture him breaking out without like it all revolving around the Dahlin thing. Do you know what I mean? If Buffalo are gonna get good, and if the defense is gonna get good, it's Dahlin and then everybody else. And unfortunately for Power, he's gonna get lost in that shuffle of like he might just get shoehorned into playing a role because of the way that the Buffalo defense needs him to be.
That's fair. Let's take things to Detroit, another team with a peculiar and pretty amazing young blue line. Aiden, the youth movement is alive in Detroit, and this is a team I've had a lot of belief in over the years. I think last year I was really pumping the gun that they were going to score a hell of a lot of goals and they were going to make the playoffs. I'm going to say the same thing this year. Aiden, I don't know for sure that they will make the playoffs. In fact, I probably have them not making the playoffs. But I think this is a team that's going to be in the fight all year. A lot of players are going to take big steps, and we are going to see them do some interesting things. In those players taking big steps, that means guys have to be almost usurped. You're going to have to see a Patrick Kane, an Alex DeBrincat become a less important player as some of these other guys become more important. This season, the Red Wings look to Michael Brandsegg Nygaard, Axel Sandin Pellikka, and one Emmett Finney to take next steps. I love what's happening here because this is the start of what's going on. The core of this team, the true built core of this team, is all under the age of 26, man. They all are. You look at the blue line: Seider, Edvinsson, Sandin Pellikka, Albert Johansson. Is that not their top four in the future?
Yeah.
Yes, we have a Ben Sherratt right now. Yes, we have a Travis Hamonic right now. Those are those are fancy little stopgaps who come in and battle hard. John Gibson, exciting acquisition for the offseason. What that acquisition shows is that Steve Yzerman is ready to give these guys the opportunity to fight. A tandem of Gibson and Cam Talbot should be enough to give these guys that opportunity. But they have to have that fight themselves. Otherwise, they're just going to end up leaving these goalies out to dry. Gibson not looking fantastic in his first game, but if you want to just look at the stats, that's what you're going to see, Aiden. If you actually watch the game, you'll see that there was no structure and it was nightmare fuel on the blue line.
Yeah, they got ripped to shreds.
Got ripped to
The-
shreds.
the-
Tell us about Emmett Finney.
yeah. The reason I laughed was because this is a 20-year-old seventh round pick who just made his NHL debut. That does not happen in the NHL. You
No,
see seventh rounders making it into the NHL sometimes. You see, as we saw tonight, so many 18, 19, 20-year-olds in the last 3 days have made their NHL debuts. But very rarely do you see a kid turn 20 years old, be a seventh round pick, and make the NHL just like that. He came from the Kamloops Blazers in the WHL, where um, every year he just got better and better and better. He gets the entry level contract at camp right after he had a great 10-game cameo at the end of the season, and this just goes to show that if you have a player on your local junior hockey team that has been drafted or is a highly touted guy and you might not know too much about him, getting involved in the team and really seeing what these guys have to offer is awesome because you don't know when somebody like an Emmett Finney, who was the captain of Kamloops last year, you don't know when he is going to have a season where all of a sudden you're like, he just became an NHLer. He just did that all himself. Um, and I think he was one of the guys we wanted to shine a light on the ELCs because he goes right hand in hand with some of these other Western Canada players that have come up through various different pathways, but it's awesome to see. Really cool to see a kid that was this low in the draft rankings 2 years later make an NHL debut. As far as the rest of the youth movement in Detroit goes, I think you're completely right to be optimistic. Um, and I don't feel the need to echo a lot of what you said back at you because I agree with a lot of it. This team is missing the playoffs. I have them finishing sixth, and that is because number one, their defense core doesn't defend particularly amazing. Like today was kind of an example of like I like Albert Johansson, I like Axel Sandin Pellikka, and I like Moritz Seider, and I like Simon Edvinsson, but this defense does not have does not have enough just strong, steady veterans yet. I think they need another right shot, legit top four defenseman if they want to make this defense into a playoff contender. Axel Sandin Pellikka, I think, could benefit greatly from a full season in Grand Rapids. He was awesome in the SHL last year. He could totally, absolutely be step in and end up being a top four guy on this Detroit team. I just think I don't think it's this year for him. Secondary scoring concerns me. It does, right? Like Larkin and Raymond are the only two guys where I'm looking at them and I'm like, okay, you I know are good for this number. right? Like I Larkin, you're good for 70 points. I know that. Raymond, you're going to be good for 80 points. I know that. Everybody else has this range. Everybody else has this, we've seen DeBrincat be a 40 goal, 85 point game breaker, and we've seen DeBrincat kind of just be a 25 goal second line scorer. He's been a little bit more than that in Detroit. Um, but Patrick Kane is now turning 37 years old soon. Had 59 points last year. You don't know what you're going to get out of him. You don't know what you're going to get out of Marco Casper. I really want to say Marco Casper is going to take a step forward. I'd love to say that. JT Compher, likewise, is another guy that uh, I don't know what he's going to be. When they signed Compher, they clearly signed him at a number after he had 52 points with the Colorado Avalanche that told me, oh, they want him to be a second line center for them. He hasn't been that in the first 2 seasons in Detroit. You have guys on different salary chips and guys that clearly have different expectations to play different roles that just haven't been filling them. If again, in the same way that we're talking about the Boston Bruins saying if all of these players play as good as they possibly can, this is going to be a great team. I think there's a great team in this Red Wings group. I think they're a year or two away from finding it. And I think it's because of what you said that young guys are going to usurp these veterans and replace them. And once you have established guys in those roles, I'd love it to be an Emmett Finney on this first line, but Brad Nygaard and Elmer Soderblom as well. Farther down the lineup, you could see absolutely being potential impact players later. They got Carter Bear in the first round too. They have Nate Danielson in the system. It's a team that's been building for the young guys to take over. I really like Dmitry Buchelnikov, part of their prospect system. Again, same guy, same kind of guy where every single year since he's been drafted, he's just been getting better. He's not going to play this year, but another forward worth mentioning as part of that group.
It's like the Red Wings are both 2 years behind and 2 years ahead of the Ducks.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get
Like
that.
they already have their Cider, they already have their Raymond, they already have their Larkin, but then it's just like everything else didn't fill out at the same
Hmm.
pace.
No, you're totally right. I
Uh,
have them. I have them in sixth.
I've got them at five. I
Okay.
think this team is going to battle for a playoff spot all year long, but that will not end up being in the cards for them. Moving on to the two-time defending champs, the Florida Panthers, without Captain Alexander Barkov for uh, what's the timeline? 7 to 9 months as of right now. He was seen walking in a very uncomfortable and unsure step while receiving his Stanley Cup ring at the home opener, but I don't really think that changes anything. Yes, that is exciting to see, but that doesn't change much. He can walk very slowly and unsurely immediately after. I mean, I'm familiar with what the surgery is, but it's going to be a very, very, very long road. Um, Matthew Tkachuk out until after Christmas, and I want to say there's another injury that I'm just not recalling.
Thomas Nozick is out. I think that's it.
Sure. A lot of guys stepping up already. I feel like a lot of people are going to get reminded how good Carter Verhaeghe is in the meantime. Much the same with Anton Lundell, much the same with Brad Marchand, Sam Bennett. This team is still better than most of the division without those two players a part of the roster whatsoever. I see
Yeah.
zero problem with them finishing in the top three of the division.
Oh, James, I completely agree with you. I think they're going to finish second. Um, I think they're going to finish second, and it's stupid. It's a stupid thing to say that it doesn't matter that Matthew Tkachuk and Alexander Barkov aren't playing. Of course, it matters. Of course, of course, they're going to make a massive difference. But you touched on it with Verhage. Like they have players primed to move into these top six spots. Like Aitu Luosterainen has been so good for this team. Evan Rodriguez has been so good for this team. Anton Lundell's been a top six center for a couple seasons now. This is an excellent player. There's no reason that Bennett and Lundell is not a good enough 1-2 punch down the middle until they can get Barkov back. Mackie Samoskevich, I know it's been a very small sample size through preseason and the start of the regular season. Samoskevich has looked like a top nine forward to me for sure. Um, I
Undoubtedly, yeah.
yeah, I have no problem with this Florida team. Like Forsling, Ekblad, Mikala, Jones, Kulikov, Petrie is so good a defensive core that it's boring. Like just the way it's built. Like I know there's no like incredible Rasmus Dahlin on there. But it's boring in the way that it's perfect. Like it's just perfectly balanced, and you don't need to worry about. If anything, they could have a second power play guy, but either Ekblad or Forsling can do the job too in the PP2.
Aiden, remember when we did our superlatives and our season predictions? Do you ever wish you could go back on one of them?
I'm for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one of them that I would like to go back on that's going to come up in a little while, and it's going to make it so, James is really going back on something he's saying. I'm not there yet, but I'm going to get there. Aiden, I've got the Florida Panthers at third in the Atlantic.
Yeah, I've got them at second.
I like it. I like it a lot. Let's take things to Montreal. This is a team that will give you a lot of excitement night in, night out. And Aiden, we got that last year. This is the year where the fight's supposed to come. This is the year where we're supposed to start learning how to win. And learning how to win doesn't come without disappointment and heartbreak. This is a Montreal Canadiens team that traded out defensive prospect Logan Mailloux for developed and ready to rock center Zach Bolduc, a trade that is already paying off some serious dividends. Is it Oliver Aussie? What's that Kapanen that they have?
Oliver Kapanen.
Oliver Kapanen. Yeah, he's looking fantastic. I love what I've seen from him so far. The way the depth of this team shakes out, it looks incredible. To me, and not just to me, one of the biggest moves of the offseason, Noah Dobson becoming a Montreal Canadian, $9.5 million a year for I believe the next 8 seasons. I don't quite understand that one, to be honest. I know you need to go assemble as many top end defensemen as possible, but Noah Dobson to me is a guy who has looked piss poor outside of a successful top power play, and he is not going to be the guy on the top power play in Montreal. So I don't fully understand it, but I'm fully ready to be proven wrong. I would love to see him go in there and just be a fully faceted, excelling defenseman at all ends of the ice. I do not think he is that. I have not seen that so far, but it would be great to see it. It would be fantastic. To me, the most interesting part of this team this season, though, is what becomes of the goalie carousel. Samuel Montembeault has established himself as the number one in Montreal. Dobish, he's a guy with crazy athleticism and who had a fairly exciting stretch. Can he jump up and take the reins a little bit? Do we see a Jacob Fowler come in at the end of the season and bring some excitement on the one of those college players coming in at the end of the year? To me, this is an area for excitement. This is an area that could be more interesting. This is an area that can be a talking point as we get down the line. We love their forwards. We know what their defensemen bring to the table. The goalies are the talking point for me. What do we get from them as the Steelers to compete? What do you got in?
I think Samuel Montembeault and Jakob Dobj is going to end up kind of being like the Stuart Skinner Calvin Pickard duo, where
Okay.
there's those perennial questions about are either of them good enough to be a starter? Are either of them even good enough to run in this 1A, 1B rotation? I think the answer is ultimately going to be yes, barely. I genuinely do think Montembeault and Dobes are going to get it done this year. And I think Montreal is smart not to rush into trying to find a more permanent solution
Hmm.
than riding these guys because I do think it's coming in Jacob Fowler. I think you made a great point there. As far as looking into the future, future is now as far as making a foray into the playoffs goes. I know they were a wild card team last year. Call me crazy. I got them third this year, James. I think they're
You're
making another,
nuts.
yeah,
You
I
are
think they're
nuts.
making another step forward in this division. Um, yeah, I know that's crazy, but
You
this
are
defense,
insane.
this defense to me will do more damage. Um, like the win they got today over Detroit, a
Oh
5-1
my
win.
God, I'm thinking about how the rest of your division comes together and I'm gonna puke. Oh, that is such a hot take.
Oh, I know. This is probably the most out of nowhere
I
standings.
cannot wait to talk to you when my prediction comes true and they're in sixth because they're ninth in the NHL in goals, but they're also fourth in the NHL in goals against.
See, that's where I think it's different this year. I think the defense makes it different this year. Matheson, Dobson, Gooley, Hudson, Jekai, Carrier. That's a six that will prevent that from happening. Montembeau getting hurt or suddenly being not an NHL goalie will be the two big things that could screw this up for me because that's where the depth and the certainty isn't there at all.
See, you've got them as a playoff lock, and I've got them a mile out. That's interesting. I'm excited to see how that one plays out.
I don't know about law because 3, 4, 5, 6 for me, like I wouldn't be surprised. I think Florida and Toronto are the top two teams, and I think Buffalo and Boston are the bottom two teams.
Well, if you're putting them as three in the division, that's a lock in the playoffs. That's not fighting for a wild card. That's a lock. Bold. Very bold. Aiden, I want to take things to Ottawa. I think this is going to be a massive Dylan Cousins year. I think this is going to be one of the best number two centers in the NHL for the next decade. And I thought we were going to see that in Buffalo. I thought he was going to be part of the solution in Buffalo, but you know what? It sucks for them. Players leave Buffalo and they become great. They go from damn, that's a good player to this is a great player with an extensive resume who is winning awards or Stanley Cups or whatever have you. Aiden, I have the Ottawa Senators at second in the division.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I
Wow.
I originally had them at three, but I shuffled the deck a little bit, and I'm buying what Linus Allmark's selling right now. I think Jake Sanderson is everything you said about Rasmus Dahlin, but without all of the issues and pressure, without all of the rotten tomatoes that Buffalo has thrown at you.
Are we gonna say he's the Rasmus Dahlin when Dahlin was Sanderson's age, or are we gonna say he's
I'm
in a
gonna
tier
say
with
right now
Hughes
he's
and
as good.
you're not even close? But
In terms of impact on the game, I think we're having the same effect.
he had an amazing year last year, and I think he's on the Olympic team again. I know that he was kind of a last second replacement, but I think they're going to take him from the start. The question mark in this Ottawa team for me is the depth, but Shane Pinto just had an incredible first game. He had 2 goals and an assist. And the forward core looks like they can fill in the blanks when needed. I like Donovan Sabrango. I've always liked Donovan Sabrango because I watched him in junior. But even watching Donovan Sabrango in junior, I was like, oh, this guy's really fun. I don't know if he's going to be an NHLer though. And that's continued into this season. And right now they've got him and Nicholas Montembeault on the third pair. Tyler Cleven's out hurt, but Sanderson, Zub,
I like
Shabbat.
Clevin.
I do too. Sanderson, Zub, Shabbat, Jensen. That is a solid top four. And if you can bring Tyler Clevin into it, it's a survivable top five defense. Um, but in the same way, like I feel I said this about Detroit. It feels like a few guys underachieve plus a couple injuries, and it throws this team way out of whack. That's why they're not second for me. I have them in fourth. I have them making the playoffs. I was surprised at how high you had them, but I wasn't surprised that we're high on them as a whole because they took a step forward. I think I look at them in the same way I look at the Montreal Canadiens, where you took one step forward last year. It's time to take another step forward this year, and very soon you'll be a legit contender.
Was it you and I who have a bet running on who's better this year, Ottawa or Montreal?
No, so far the only one I have down is the over under on Cole Perfetti points.
Yeah, I'm still real confident about that one. Uh, do you want to double it up on Ottawa and Montreal?
No, no, not on this one.
Smart. You're really smart to do
Yeah.
that. Yeah. I'm really questioning why you're questioning their depth up front because this is a team who their top nine forwards in no particular order are Brady Tkachuk, Tim Stützle, Fabian Zetterlund, Shane Pinto, Dylan Cousins, Drake Batherson when healthy, Claude Giroux, David Perron, and Ridley Greig.
Same thing. And it's the
Are
same
we
thing
are
I'll say
we
like
are,
like
are we
Fabian
worried about
Zetterlund.
are we worried about any of that?
I have been so disappointed by Fabian Zetterlund in the last little
Wait,
while.
hold the phone though. Because he's acquired by the Ottawa Senators not to be what he was in San Jose. He's acquired by the Ottawa Senators to be a middle six forward.
Really? Because I watched the Sens play today. He was on the first line.
That's because Drake Batherson's injured right now.
You know what? Yeah, you're right. And maybe that's where my concern about this forward depth comes in. Is I looked today and I saw Zetterlund on the first line, and I was thinking, okay, I mean, yeah, David Perron's on the third line, but is that seriously the best we got? But now Perron and Zetterlund on the third line with Batherson, Kachuk, Gregg, and Giroux Pinto in the top six is all of a sudden okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
And they
yeah.
just traded for a one royal meat train in Curtis McDermott so he could fight all of the other big meat trains in the Atlantic. I love that. I love that so much. I buy what Artem Zub sells. I'm 50-50 on going to the Thomas Chabot market because he scares me just as much as I enjoy him. And Nick Jensen. My opinions turn around on him. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. It made no sense to me.
I always got it with Jensen more than I got it with Zub
Yeah.
personally.
And anyone who listened to our podcast religiously, I hope those people exist. You will remember that when the Four Nations face-off went on, I clowned on Finland for having to bring Nicholas Matinpalo. I said, "This is seriously all you got? You had to go to the least interesting defenseman from your country that plays in the NHL." You know what? I'll eat my words. He's an NHL defenseman. I'm rude for saying that. I probably watched that guy play hockey 3 times before that, maybe. I'll eat my words. They don't taste very good. Kind of a sour, stale taste to them. Let's take things to Tampa Bay. I think you could put the Tampa Bay Lightning anywhere between first and fourth in this division.
I got them in fifth.
I think that's wild. I think that's quite wild that you're placing a team with Braden Point and Anthony Cirelli as your top two centers in fifth in the Atlantic. Especially considering all of your critiques of the Tampa Bay Lightning, I think are going to be the opposite of your your glazes on these teams that are a little more risky. I've got the Tampa Bay Lightning in fourth, which isn't that far off. Why do you have them in fifth?
It feels like I have to be more negative than I want to be right now.
Yeah, you do. You do because you set yourself up for this. You've put your negativity towards the Tampa Bay Lightning on a pedestal. Go spew. Go be the town crier.
How have I done that?
Because you put them in fifth.
Yeah, but you put
Put a
them in
team this
fourth.
stacked at fifth in the division.
You put a team this stacked at fourth in the division,
At least
dude.
fourth is going to make playoffs.
I think they're gonna make the playoffs in fifth.
Hmm.
I, um,
Hmm. Hmm.
Tampa to me is a team that's one Victor Hedman gear being slowed down away from like having some okay, we got to look at our defense problems. That's the big thing for me. Is Ryan McDonough was brought in as like a stopgap, and I know he's played really well since he's gone back there. I get
Yeah,
it.
he looks great.
Um, but in this defense that is missing JJ Moser, I'm still not convinced that, and maybe it's the
Wait,
age
they're
and it's the
missing JJ Moser, but they have Maxwell Crozier.
they do. Um so it's the defense of this team. It's the defense that doesn't create as much as it used to with Hedman and Sergachev. It's a defense that I like Darren Radish and I like McDonough Chernak, but the fact that Radish McDonough Chernak is three of the top four is kind of where my concern comes in. Um, Gage is playing on the second line with Cirelli and Hagel right now. He was tonight, which was fun to watch. I watched the Tampa Ottawa game, and then I watched the Vancouver Calgary game tonight. Um,
How does Bjorkstrand look?
Good. He had a good first game.
Also,
He had quite a good first game. I have no problem with this forward group because it's five bona fide top six players, and then right now it seems like they're filling the blank with the smartest guy they have because I do think Gage's hockey IQ is what sets him above the other ones for that spot. But you could easily put Bjorkstrand there. You could easily put Yanni Gord on the wing. You could easily throw Connor Geeky in there.
Pontus
Um,
Holmberg even.
Pontus Holmberg actually did have some top 6 minutes in Toronto when he was there. Like he did. So that's not out of the question as well. Yeah, the only thing is I have questions about durability of the defense and how much creativity they can provide. But Radish, Moser, Hedman, McDonough, Chernak, I think they can do what they need to do. I just think somebody gets hurt, somebody slows down. You don't get one of those guys clicking on the power play the way they need to, and suddenly it's a hole in their team that they're going to be scrambling to try and fill.
Aiden, do you know what my key to the Tampa Bay Lightning making the playoffs is?
Nikita Kucherov.
Wrong. You are so far off.
Oh,
So
is it?
far off. You are miles away. You actually couldn't be further from the end of the ice that my key is.
So it's Vasilevsky.
My key is Jonas Johansson not playing more than 20 games.
Jonas Johansson. Sure. Okay.
That dude had possibly the most roller coaster like stretch when Vasilevsky was injured last year or the year before. It was frightening. It was insanity. The guy would have back-to-back shutouts and then let in 5+ goals for 7 games in a row. And then he would have like a 2 goal game on 40 something shots. The guy is so unpredictable, and I mean that's kind of exciting, but just have Vazzy in the net every game, get him in the hot tub, get him in the cold tub, get him in the trainer's room. Maybe you can get 70 games out of him. Maybe. And I just want to know as well, with a top goalie like that, one of the best goalies of all time, undoubtedly one of the best of this generation, how much gas does a Vazzy have in the tank? He's
I
31 years old.
yeah, I think I think we'd be talking about this very differently if Tampa Bay had maintained the amount of hockey deep into the spring as they were in the early 2020s,
Hmm.
because an extra 25, 30 games at the end of every season, in the most highly intense hockey you can possibly be playing, that does a lot. I'm not worried because Vasilevsky actually hasn't had a very extensive end of the season since 2022. I think if Tampa had been into the late stages of the playoffs in the 2 or 3 seasons that followed their three cup finals in a row, then we'd be having this conversation in a very different way. But I'm not worried in a way that I know I would have been worried had Vasilevsky's body incurred that much more mileage.
How many wins do you think Vazzy knocks down this season?
I think he's 35. I think you can peg him for 35.
Okay, so he currently sits 29th all time with 331 career wins in the regular season. If he got 35, he would end up with 366. That would put him just above Carey Price for 23 all time and just tucked behind Pekka Rinne and Tom Barrasso. Say if he gets 2 more seasons of that, we're sitting around 400. He's getting to Chris Osgood level at 15. This is one of the greatest goalies of all time, and I'm glad the record books will show it. Aiden, that is the end of our division previews with this next team, the Toronto Maple Leafs. First in the division for both of us. I love it. Aiden is on the Leafs train. Aiden is officially a Maple Leafs guy.
I had them in the Cup final last year, so I don't think this is a brand new revelation. And I'm also not going
Huge
to
Maple
say
Leafs fan, Aiden Sarah.
I'm not going to say too much about it because it's boring, right? The pieces are there. They've managed to build up a very balanced lineup. I look at the first line. Is Michelli gonna stay there? I don't know. But Matthew Nyes,
Ah,
Austin Matthews, yeah, Matthew Nyes, Austin Matthews, and a +1 on that line is great. John Tavares, William Nylander, and a +1 on that line is great. Dakota Joshua, Max Domi, and a +1 on that line is great. Nikola Waugh, Calle Yarncroke, and a +1 on that line is great. Like they have,
is Steven Lorentz isn't just a +1. That's a good fourth liner.
well, and I don't think Bobby McMahon's just a +1 either, right? Like I'm not gonna.
I don't think
It's
he's a real second liner.
maybe not, but my point being, like they've got a lot of guys that they can plug and play with. I don't think it's Easton Cowan. I don't know why there seems to be this like Easton Cowan's gonna end up being the guy thing. Never this year will that have happened. Um, Nick Robertson can score, right? Like I wouldn't even throw away the option of trying him in a top six spot. I know that it hasn't worked so far, but as boringly solid as the forwards are, their defense is also boringly solid. I think Morgan Riley has a better year this year. I think a Riley bounce back is
Oh
coming. I
yeah.
think I said that on the last episode that I have a Morgan Riley bounce back coming. Him and Brandon Carlo, great. Jake McCabe, Chris Tanev, dream. Oliver Ekman Larson and Simon Benoit as a third pair. Both players have had really good last couple seasons. The only thing I don't like about it is that it's two lefties and one of them has to play their offside, but they both do it fine. I was watching them do it yesterday, and Ekman Larson was fine. No, Benoit was fine.
Aiden, these forwards get a little less boring for you when Scott Lawton comes back from injury. That is a fantastic honey badger of a player with solid hands and a pretty electrifying personality. You inject him anywhere from first line to fourth line, and this guy is making a difference in your lineup. What line do you think he plays on, and what kind of impact do you think he has?
I bet I to me he's a bottom six center. And I think the great thing in Toronto when Lawton comes back is that for the two bottom six center spots, you've got Max Domi, Nikola Waugh, and then Scott Lawton. And I think the odd one out of that isn't the third or the fourth line center is where you can really have a Swiss Army knife at your disposal. And I really like those players come the end of the season and in the playoffs where if something isn't rolling, well, you know that Waz your third line center, you know that Lawton's your fourth line center, so you know you have Yarncroke and Domi that you can plug and play with and try different combinations with those guys. And I literally will never stop. I don't think anything could get me off the I will just be waiting for Max Domi to succeed bandwagon for my entire life. I just love this guy. So uh, a chance for him to get some top 6 minutes, amazing. Do it. Let's go.
Love to see it. I'm happy to be wrapping up these division previews. And I'm happy that this is finally the division where you and I had more than two to three teams that were different.
Yeah, you're right.
We finally had some big changes from each other. Because usually it would be like, oh, you have a team in fifth that I have in fourth. Oh, you have a team in seventh that I have in eighth. That's it. This time, all we had the same was first and seventh and eighth. Everything
Yeah.
else was from two till six. Wildly different. Wildly. Well, Aiden, I would like to continue a segment that I started on the last pod. And I know we're going a little long here, so for listeners, just hold on for this last little bit. We'll have a little bit of fun before we go. It's time for our fantasy gamblers roundup. Aiden, have you come with some homework? Have you come with three players?
I did and then I didn't because you're gonna go first, but I made a trade in my other fantasy league today.
You have another fantasy league? You're cheating
I
on us?
I know, I know.
Oh,
It's on Yahoo, which
okay,
is
that's cool.
different. It's different. It's a different fantasy server. What did I just do here? Okay. I traded away. Jason Robertson, Eric Carlson, and Frank Nazar. And I received Mikhail Sergachev, Lucas Raymond, and Bo Horvat. And I'm very happy with that transaction.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's not a robbery by either side, and it's
No.
fun. I like that.
Um,
And you
it's
probably
not.
got to pick Nazar late.
He was a free agent pickup in this league, actually.
Beauty.
Yeah.
Thin
And
league.
it was to my Hawks fan too, which
Mm.
to my Hawks fan friend, which Vinny, he's been on the podcast.
Yeah, I
Um,
was about to say. All right, my first one. Oh,
yeah, you go.
yeah, I'm gonna go Scott Wedgwood because, as I said in the Fantasy Gamblers Roundup before, you need to know when to hold him, know when to fold him, and know when to walk away. So this is a prime example of you're gonna need to know when to fold this guy. Mackenzie Blackwood is being paid as the starter of the Colorado Avalanche. He will not be out for long. Scott Wedgwood has had two separate starts in a row where he's allowed one goal and made a heck of a lot of saves and gotten the win. He's going to get another one or two of those. He's going to play four of the first 5 games of the season and he's going to win all of them. But after that, are you really going to be spending a roster spot on him? I don't care how deep your league is, it's not going to be worth doing so. So, are you going to be able to drop him in time to pick up another goalie? Are you going to have a strategy? Or have you even been able to take advantage of it? Well, it might be too late if you haven't done so. But if you have a fairly active waiver wire, if you don't have a fairly intense acquisition limit, go and grab Scott Wedgwood for the next game. Have some fun with it. Aiden, is that your three? You're locking in on those three from your trade?
Yeah, I am gonna walk in on those three that I got. Bo Horvat for the New York Islanders is the absolute epitome of jack of all trades. He does literally everything for them. Especially like he's so set in that spot. Like Matt Barzell, arguably a more talented player, more dynamic player. They love him all over the place. They play him on the wing, which
Yeah.
I think more suits Barzell's game than it would Horvat's, hypothetically for sure.
Barzell was
Um,
back at center today.
he was playing with Anders Lee and Kyle Palmieri.
Yeah.
Horvat was playing with Drouin and Heineman.
That line's sick.
They were playing well. Schaefer
Yeah.
got a nice assist on a Drouin goal.
I watched that whole game.
Yeah, Matthew Schaefer got his first point tonight. That's so funny. That was the game you chose to watch randomly. The Islanders. Oh, I guess it was Pittsburgh. Yeah, you got to soak up the Crosby while you still can. Um,
And get my first taste of Schaefer hockey.
yeah, yeah. Lucas Raymond is a guy that I talked about a lot in the summer. He's the guy in Detroit now. I love Dylan Larkin as a player. I've never loved Dylan Larkin as like the guy leading goal scorer, leading point scorer, all that, right? Um, but I've always loved him as like a perfect all around 1C. Um, Larkin will excel in every area of the game because Raymond is going to suddenly be the superstar. He's going to be the thing that the puck always goes through. It's going to find him in the neutral zone. It's going to find him when they're setting up in the offensive zone. He's going to be the puppeteer pulling all the strings, not just on that line, but on that power play on that team. They're going to build the forwards around him. He's the guy moving forward. And then the last of the three, Mikhail Sergachev in Utah. It's so much uncertainty with the Utah Mammoth. There is so much that could go so right or so wrong. And we've seen Sean Dursey and John Marino be amazing and be really, really, really struggling in the last 3 seasons at different points. Sergachev is their number one. So as far as this year goes, that is an electric power play, that is an electric offense that these defensemen will get to pick up points as a part of.
Aiden, next up, I'm going to take it to a player that I drafted this season with high hopes, a player that I wanted to have a lot of faith in, and I want to have a lot of faith in every year. That player is Josh Norris. This is a perfect example of you need to know when to walk away. Already with the day-to-day injury, upper body, no real specifics whatsoever at the end of the first game. He left that game against the New York Rangers from what I saw online. I didn't actually see it. I don't know what the contact was, but with Josh Norris, you have to be very, very wary of that injury history. If he's a guy that you could flip to someone else in your league, honestly, dude, take advantage. Be ruthless. Get him off your hands. This is a guy who has been able to put up a ridiculous amount of fantasy points in times past. And I thought in this season coming up, being able to gel maybe in a bumper spot in a slot position would be able to just lock things in and go crazy on the Sabres power play with Tage Thompson and Rasmus Dahlin. That's not happening. He's going to be in and out of the lineup all year long. I can already see it. You don't need to be Nostradamus to find it. It's tough. Walk away from that one. And you know what? I think I'm going to take it somewhere completely different. Frank Nazar. I kind of want people to be weary here because I had so many expectations and I still do. But it's easy to ramp those expectations up after a great first game. Nazar, goal and assist, I believe, Aiden, in
In
the
two
first
games
one.
so far, he's got goal, assist, and 3 points, but I think he got an assist tonight.
Yeah. So incredible start for the guy. He looks awesome. I have him pegged for around 60 points over the course of the season, but this is a Blackhawks team that's going to be struggling more often than not. And they've come out of the gate with reasons for optimism and a lot to kind of be interested in watching. And Nazar has pretty much been the highlight. Bedard hasn't really been able to convert on as much as Nazar so far, but that's likely to change. We're going to see a lot of coverage focus on Nazar. We're going to see a lot of. Mm, you can't even call it a sophomore slump. We're gonna see a lot of pressure being focused in on him, and he's gonna have to adjust on the fly. There are growing pains when you adjust to being the star player that I could definitely see him becoming, and I just I don't think he's going to be as fantasy relevant this year. I don't think he's going to fill a ton of categories. He's going to get those second assists. He's going to develop those plays because he has that high hockey IQ. But in a banger league, which most people's formats are going with nowadays, you kind of need a guy who's going to fill categories, and I don't really think he's going to be the guy for you. I would love to be proven wrong, but I am not eager to go add him to my lineup today.
I think that's a really good spot to call it, unless you wanted to shine a light on anything else right at the end. But I'm good to wrap if you're good to wrap.
Next episode, we're going to talk Face Off inside the NHL. I've already watched all 6 episodes, but I haven't talked about it with Aiden at all. So we will we'll leave that for next week. I haven't seen it yet because it's not out yet, but I'm really, really excited to watch 2 movies that are coming into theaters. That is Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, and then Roofman with Channing Tatum and Kristen Dunst. I think that one will be awesome. It's based on a guy who was robbing McDonald's left and right, and then was camping out and hiding out in a Toys R Us. And one of the employees ends up finding out that he's in there. It looks to be a pretty entertaining comedy, and I just listened to Kirsten Dunst on the Smartlist podcast with Will Arnett, Jason Bateman, and Sean Hayes, and she was quite entertaining. So I really look forward to both those 2 movies and breaking them down for you guys. So without further ado, I want to thank all of you for listening. Let's roll that outro. Thanks, guys.